tender, succulent, and so meaty, these vegan lentil meatballs are comfort food showstoppers. Now, if you guys loved my grandma's 100-year-old porcupine meatballs recipe that I posted not too far back, I think you guys are really gonna love these lentil meatballs. They're a slightly healthier take on those meatballs as we're not using Beyond Beef. Now, don't get me wrong, I love Beyond Beef. It's an amazing plant-based meat alternative that's super innovative. But for this video, I really want to show you guys just how versatile lentils can be. There's so many types of lentils out there, and there's so many things you can do with them. And making meatballs is such a popular way to use lentils in your everyday cooking. These meatballs are honestly so satisfying and so tender. You'll devour them, the whole family will devour them. They're just chef's kiss. We're actually currently doing a series right now on the channel all about lentil recipes. So if you don't want to miss out on some good stuff, make sure you're subscribed below. Okay people, we're working with just 10 main ingredients to make these totally epic lentil meatballs, so let's get started. You're going to dice up 1 small onion or half of a large onion into as fine of a dice as you can, and then we're going to mince up 3 large cloves of garlic or 4 to 5 small-ish cloves of garlic. I say the more garlic, the better. By sauteing and caramelizing the garlic and the onion first, it just helps to add more flavor to the meatballs, and it also helps to reduce some of the moisture that's gonna be in the recipe, as you don't want too moist of meatballs as they might not hold their shape as well when you cook them later on. Alrighty, so now we're going to pull out our food processor. We're going to transfer those sauteed, caramelized garlic and onions right into the food processor, followed by our spices. We've got some salt and pepper, red chili flakes, and Italian seasoning. Add some nutritional yeast for some savory umami deliciousness, and then we're just going to pulse that up a few times until it becomes a little bit mealy. Not pasty, but just broken up into small pieces like this. We don't want it to be pureed, but just nice and chunky. Next, we're going to add 1 cup of cooked and cooled quinoa, followed by 1 cup of cooked brown lentils. These can be cooked yourself, or you can use canned lentils that have been drained and rinsed. Start with adding 1 tablespoon of balsamic vinegar, and you can always add a second one later if you taste it and think it needs a little bit of extra acidity. And then we're going to add 1 flax egg, which is just 1 tablespoon of ground flaxseed mixed with a couple tablespoons of water. And then we're going to add 2 tablespoons of tomato paste. This is going to not only help to bind the meatballs together, but also add some nice rich tomatoey flavor. And then to also help with the binding process, we're going to add some breadcrumbs. You can use gluten-free if you need to. And then for a little bit of freshness, we're going to add some fresh chopped parsley. If you don't have parsley, you can use basil or cilantro. Whatever you have is great. Now we're going to put the lid on. We're going to pulse that mixture a few times until it's nice and well combined and kind of moist-ish, a little bit tacky to the touch. If you do find that the mixture is a little bit on the too moist side, feeling like a little bit too tacky and they stick to your hands a little too much, you can definitely add more breadcrumbs until they hold their shape a little bit better and they're a little bit less moist. Now for this next part, I like to use a cookie scoop to roll out my meatballs. Try to get them to be about 1.5 to 2 tablespoons worth of mixture in each ball, and then you're just going to pop them onto a plate. You should get about 20 meatballs out of this mixture, and then I like to just pop that whole plate into the freezer with the meatballs for about 15 minutes just to help them firm up. After the 15 minutes is up, you can heat up a large saute pan with a little bit of oil, and then we're just going to fry each meatball for about 2 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes per side until they're nice and golden brown. Carefully flip them over with a spatula or some tongs, and then we're going to finish baking them in the oven if you have an oven safe skillet like I do here. If not, you can definitely just transfer them onto a baking sheet and bake them that way. So for these lentil meatballs, you will need to bake them in the oven first before tossing them in any kind of pasta or marinara sauce, and we do this because we want them to really firm up as they cook. Otherwise, if you just toss the raw meatball into a marinara sauce, for example, they might actually fall apart and be kind of mushy, which nobody likes a mushy meatball. So bake them first or air fry them. So now that they are crisped up and they have firmed up in the oven, we're going to just toss them in some marinara sauce. Now this is totally optional. The meatballs are delicious on their own and they absolutely don't need to be coated in any sort of sauce. But if you're planning on doing like a spaghetti or you just want to serve them up in like a meatball sub or something, just toss them in some marinara sauce and heat them only until the sauce is just heated through. We don't want them to be cooking for longer longer than they have to, or else they might get a little bit overcooked and mushy. So just about 5 minutes is all they need in the sauce. And just like that, you have a delicious, cozy lentil meatball dish that required very little effort, very little ingredients, and they are so good, you guys. I honestly could have just eaten an entire bowl of meatballs. Actually, that's a lie. I did eat this entire plate of meatballs and then some. They're so good, they're so filling, and they're so healthy, so nutritious. There's so much protein, so much fiber in them, and they're just like really satisfying. And we had them in meatball subs as well. They're so perfect for a sub. Just toss them in a little extra sauce, broil the whole sandwich in your toaster oven for a few minutes until the cheese is melted, and you have such a good meal. If you guys love easy vegan gluten-free recipes, let's be besties. Subscribe below and make sure that you check out my latest lentil bolognese recipe that I mentioned earlier in this video, as it pairs so nicely with these meatballs. Thanks for watching, and I'll smell you later.
Bye.